Now, in 2015, there was legislation banning FGM/C in the Gambia. But when 3 women were convicted for performing the act FGM last year, the reaction from the public and public figures was surprising and equally shocking. And that's why UNFPA has decided to bring in some key actors in this to come in and sensitize the public about FGM, female genital mutilation/cutting. We'll have Dr. Dafe Fatou Balde, a CSO rep and survivor of FGM, Seni MCC, FGM survivor, and FGM former circumciser Kumba Damba. She will be helped by her interpreter, Dauda Jallo, who is part of the organization Tostan in Basse. Good morning, and it's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Assalamu alaikum to the listeners. My name is Fatou Balde, and I am the founder of Women in Liberation and Leadership Will.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Seni MCC. I am the founder and CEO of Safe Haven Foundation.
Thank you. Let me just come to you first, Fatou. Tell us, as a survivor and part of the CSO, what effect does FGM have on a girl child?
Thank you again. FGM, which is also referred to as female genital mutilation or cutting.
Yes.
In our society, a lot of people call it circumcision, has a lot of impact on the girl child. When FGM is performed, it has both short-term and long-term complications. For example, we've seen cases where children, after being cut, can have excessive bleeding. We've seen cases of severe infections, which could also lead to death. We all know that in the Gambia, FGM is performed using the same equipment, for example, a razor blade or scissors to cut several girls. And that means that in most cases, those equipments are not sterilized. So if there is a girl or any of the children being cut who has any blood-borne disease, it will be easy to transmit. But also in the long time, FGM has a lot of complications to women, especially during pregnancy, during childbirth, during period, and a lot of other complications, which I believe Doctor will talk on more.
Okay.
So I'll stop there for now to allow Doctor when he speaks.
All right. How prevalent is it in the Gambia?
A lot of people say they were cut, but most people were mutilated. For example, like myself, I was not only cut, I was mutilated.
Sorry.
And it did not stop at that. I was also sealed. And in the process, people, they don't tell you that you are sealed. FGM, like Fatou said, has a lot of complications. It is a harmful practice. The main reason why I am advocating for it, because everyone knows me as an advocate for infertility in the Gambia and fighting against the stigma against it. But when the parliamentarians tried to repeal the law, that was when FGM was banned. That was when I said I don't need to be in the background. I need to speak out. And me being a victim of FGM, and with all the pain that I went through, and I can still vividly remember from the very first day I was taken from my house because my parents were not aware. I was stolen. So from the very first day up till now, I still fight with the trauma that I went through. All my life, from the very first day that I was stolen to be mutilated, up till now, if I am to explain every bit of it, we won't live here.
Absolutely.
But we have a lot of people that need to speak. So I'm just going to buttress on the pain that was instilled in me and the trauma that I have been through with FGM.
All right.
It's not only cutting. A lot of people have been mutilated, but they don't know that they were mutilated.
Right.
So we need to differentiate the cutting part and the mutilation part. They are different stages of FGM.
Okay.
Yes.
You talk about the risk, and all advocates talk about it. But the argument is, you all are here, you are healthy, you are thriving in your careers and in your marriages. That is an argument that is used by the opposite end. Doctor, how risky is FGM to women?
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Daffy at Carnifing General Hospital. I'm also a focal point for the survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. I think we need to understand what FGMs and FGMC is, first of all. It's a procedure that involves the partial or the total removal of the external female genitalia for cultural reasons, for religious reasons, and for non-therapeutic reasons. Why we said non-therapeutic reasons? Because any structure that you cut in the human body must have the indications why you are cutting. So that's why we said for non-therapeutic reasons. Of course, there are structures, an external female genitalia, and every structure is for a reason, and it has a function. It has also nerve supply and also the blood supplies. So my point is that before we go into the long-term, short-term and long-term complications, who cuts these people? Are they qualified? Because this is a surgical procedure. You need to be trained. Undergo formal training, you know what you are cutting, you know the complication before you can touch. And you also need to know the function of this. And it should have an indication, like there should be a pathology for somebody to say, this needs an operation or need a procedure. Without that, you cannot do anything. We look at our circumstances, they have no formal education. They don't know what they are cutting. They cannot deal with the complications. In fact, they don't do this under sterile condition. And in fact, there is no anesthesia given. So it could give young girls a lot of complications. I'm going to speak here about what I saw and not about who tells you, and living witness.
Good.
A lot of women come to the hospital asking me for de-infibulations to open them up because they got married and they cannot consummate. A lot happened in the month of December, in the month of January, and also a month before Ramadan and in the month of Ramadan, because these are two periods that you see in the Gambia, the marriages that it's a marriage period, I will call it. So women got in a weekly basis. So if you see women coming, then for me, I said there's a problem somewhere. And I've seen also people die. Young girl died of this procedure. A young girl from Tugera in 2015 was brought to the hospital, was bled to death overnight. I saw this. An eyewitness. It's not like somebody tells you. So I'm telling that the people who are cutting does not know what they're doing, and they do not go under any training to cut this. It is not done under sterile procedures, and also there is no anesthesia that is given to them. In fact, the way they handle this whole process is so traumatic. Some will hold you, strain you. In fact, there can be fracture and dislocation. Let's talk about the complication at the short term. In the short term, because you cut the structure, there will be bleeding. And you, the one who cutting, you don't even know what you're cutting, and you cannot control the bleeding. So eventually, if that continue, that can cause the life of that young girl. So there will be bleeding and there will be pain because it is not done under anesthesia. Any surgical procedures must be done under, even if it's a male circumcision, it should be done under. In fact, we are not fair to these young girls. In male circumcision, we do it under anesthesia. Why not female circumcision? So which tells you that we are not fair to women. Yes. This is a surgical procedure, we should not go there. Of course, when this bleeding continues, there will be what? A shock. That's hemorrhagic shock, and then that can cause the life of them. In fact, there can be urinary retention. Why retention? They cannot pass urine. Because when there's a blood clot, that clot, the urethral meatus, this is also structures on the female genitalia that allow the passage of the urine. That can cause a blockage of urine, and that can cause another complication. When you look at the Bartholin gland, this is a gland that is found in the external female genitalia. It's good for lubrication and the clitoris. It gives a sexual arousement. If you cut that feeling, are you not violating the feelings of that woman? If you cut that gland, that lubricate the vagina, you make that girl dry. That's why they will have dyspareunia, what we call painful sexual intercourse. They bear children, but they don't enjoy sex, or they don't enjoy their sexual feelings in their marriage. So marriage is not about making babies or to procreate, but it's about the sexual satisfaction. So you deny those young girls of those satisfactions.
All right. Now you talked about circumcisers not having conventional education. So there is an argument that if we brought it into the hospitals, like we've done with boys, it will minimize the risk.
Our law does not entertain it. What I'm saying is, at this juncture, the law we have, FGM, is banned in the Gambia. The circumcisers has no training to cut any, so they should know, and there should not be any practice.
Okay.
Until that law is changed, I am believing, as of now, they cannot, because they are not trained for it. Yes, they will say they have been doing it. Many people live around, and then they are doing their business. Of course, but we've seen that many people died in those days of infection. They will blame, associate with the witchcraft. An old woman around one corner who does not have a child is the one who touched that child. Okay. We have seen those. I'm a traditional man. I come from that village. But the knowledge makes us to enlighten our people. And that's what we are doing now.
All right. Let me talk to the former circumciser, Yakumba Damba. Why, and you will help me with Dauda, why did she decide to stop performing FGM?
Ako abe nyinin kala muna na ye sungtunda la wula konota muna na yabola ba yela mecholo me kaken muna na yabola
ma fala jama bi al sama assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh niaje sungru ni wala nya karata ngabula ngalon do sota kon londi kayrama woto mo on ka nyaka sake ne adolati ngatara mba manyoli mfa manyoli mamoli ntel yake adote bari maalon ka foko aka manto rosoto birin to sannata ya ito sani en karandi ala yenne mantora dali yitandinna yenne bata dali yitandinna kono ye hakili ma yandi akono mpana ngabula katuna sama yiriwo mbole non ninna dindol be ntel yake adote yara karim mantorale malo.
How has attitudes evolved towards FGM in the Gambia?
We have a long way to go when it comes to advocating for FGM, because a lot of people still do not understand.
Okay.
I believe that a lot of people do not understand, because when you speak against FGM, you always face a backlash. And we, the victims, it's only us that knows what it feels.
Okay.
Like what doctor said, it has a medical implication. Like when the practice was done on me, so to believe, I grew up being a teenager with my hormones were not balanced. You understand? I would see my period today and wouldn't see it for a long time, because I was still to an extent where a tiny bit of hole was left in me. When the period should come out, it doesn't come out the right way it should come out. So I would see it today and not see it in 3 months. And when it comes, it's so dark that it wasn't normal. I grew up feeling that way. So I'm not medically linking it to my own journey as growing up and getting married and not being able to produce a child. But I believe that it has something to do with it, because number one, it's not hygienic when the practice is done. Number two, post the practice, they just put a cotton over you, and you know how blood dries on a cotton, and it's when it's dry, I can still vividly remember when it was done on me and that cotton was put on me. It's dry. It's still the part that was cut. It is still scratching it, and you bleed more. And that cost. And they don't bath you every day. Imagine that you're bleeding and they don't bath you every day, and that's scratching you the whole day. So that can cause like an infection that will affect you towards the end of your life. Do you understand? Yeah. It has a lot of medical implications, but we need to raise a lot of awareness for people to understand that you cannot cut someone without their own will. And to top it all, what is the benefit of you cutting someone? They say to prevent you from being promiscuous. Sorry, I traveled at a very young age. No mother, no father, but never in one day did I thought of giving myself away without being married. Do you understand? Those values were instilled in me by my parents before I traveled. So I don't see the point of cutting anyone. People are not cut and they are still promiscuous. People are cut but they do whatever they want. So I don't see the point why you should instill pain in someone when there is no benefit.
All right. Father, no two experiences are alike. Just like hers is different, so is yours, and so many others. Some, with all the experiences that they have been through, even negative, they will still practice it, because we see modern women like us who are taking their children. What would you say to people who are still performing this, and are the reason people are fighting to repeal the law?
Yes, thank you. I know we are wrapping up, but I want to touch on a few things before I answer your question, especially connecting it to the current debate. As listeners can hear, there is a debate that Gambians are not mutilating, that we are doing a tiny cut. Okay. Not that that tiny cut is acceptable, but in this conversation here today, you've heard what happened to Seni. Seni wasn't given a tiny cut. Seni was mutilated and Seni was stitched. And there are many Senis out there. And Dr. Dafe has also confirmed that. Right now, it's coming up to Ramadan. Dr. Dafe is saying that he continuously see women who are stitched, ñaw, jigéen yi dañ leen a jàppa ñaw leen together, fata leen. Yeah? That is what is happening in the Gambia. So the narrative ne Gambian girls are being cut, tiny cut, it's not even true. I am a survivor. I have not met any girl who has been cut according to what the narrative is. What I am seeing is mutilation. Okay. You asked about attitude. FGM is a deeply rooted practice. It's been ongoing for centuries, not just in the Gambia, but across the world. The WHO has identified 30 countries where FGM is performed. And right now, in the Gambia, the prevalence is about 73% of Gambian women between the age of 15 and 49 have been mutilated. So we are talking about a very, very high prevalence in this country. You asked about the impact. Yeah. The effect of FGM depends on the type you have. Doctor was trying to explain. The WHO has classified 4 different types of FGM, from the cut, the small cut that people are defining, to the most extreme, which is stitching and sealing, fatabi ak yoyo. Okay. These are all found here. Depending on the type of FGM you've had, it will contribute to how it impacts you. So for a woman who's had type 1 and a woman who has type 3, it's different. So those are the factors. But because FGM is deeply rooted and it's been practiced for a very long time, it is difficult for people to move away from it. And this is why it's important for us to continue the advocacy. This is why it is important for us to dispel the myths around FGM. All these stories you are hearing, the patriarchal system that silenced women, because for a very long time, women have been told. I remember when I was caught, I was told not to ever speak about what happened to me. So women are told not to talk about what happened to them. So we are breaking that culture of silence, and we do understand the reaction that we are getting, because we are going against our societal norms and traditions. But we must continue that, because we cannot continue to use tradition to violate the bodies of women and girls.
Thank you, Fatou. Doctor, I'll come back to you quickly. What do you think of the repeal?
Well, I think we have a law, and if you look at the practice of FGM or FGMC, they have mentioned, I've also made mentions. Anything that we do for these young girls, we must act in their best interest. Cutting their clitoris, cutting their external female gender is not in their best interest, because you are taking a vital organ from them that they need when they grow older. So, and that can cause a lot of complication for them. So for me, repealing that law, it means you are sending our young girls into those complications, violating their rights, and when they got married, they will have difficult consummating. As he said, infertility. Why? Because infection ascend. It goes and it blocks your tube. When it blocks your tubes, of course there will be infertility, difficulty in even childbirth, because sometimes the vaginal orifice becomes so narrow. If you don't de-infibulate this one, as I always do for women who consummate newly at the hospital, it means there will be difficulty in childbirth.
Thank you very much,
and that
Doctor.
can cause fistula.
Seni, quickly, what's your reaction to it?
I just want to say my last words. Yeah. We have said our bit. We are victims of it, and we are fighting towards eradicating and towards changing the mindset of our people. Like Fatou said, it has been here for a long time, yeah. And it is a cultural something that we see as part of us.
Yeah.
But it is not. We should do away with FGM. It is a violation of the human rights. Number one, it has medical implications that will have a long way to go with you towards the rest of your life. And I feel that we should do away with FGM totally.
Thank you very much, ladies and doctor. Wish we could have Imam, but unfortunately we couldn't get hold of him. Maybe we will have him next week. And next week as well, we will talk to UNFPA about what they are doing as well, apart from desensitization. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you again. And I'll see you again. And I'll see you again.